What's up, guys? Sean Ogle, Location 180. I can't tell you how excited I am right now. This is something I've been trying to do for over 2 years. I'm going to introduce you to someone who is going to change the way you think about your business and the way you get clients. But before I go into the whole introduction, I want to make sure you understand exactly what you're going to get out of this video. So I'm going to give him 20 seconds to tell you exactly what you're going to walk away with. So, Nick, before we go into everything else, what can people look forward to getting over the next 10 to 15
So
minutes?
like Sean said, my name is Nick Reese, and we're going to talk about how to build a streamlined and scalable consulting business. You see, most freelancers really stumble when they're starting out to on what skills do you bring to the table, and how do you scale your business once you have those skills. So we're going to talk about those two steps. Like first, what skill should you develop first? And then second, some systems and tools that you can use to essentially scale your business in a way that works for you instead of you having to run it all the time.
Okay, that's awesome. So now to back up a little bit and give you an idea of who Nick is one of there's probably three people that have been really critical to my success over the last couple of years, and Nick is absolutely one of those people. It was probably 2 years ago. He had moved to New York. I flew out to New York, and I was just starting Location Rebel. So this was before it launched. I was still building out the content, and I went to Nick and said, "Hey, buddy, I'm thinking about doing this. I'm still kind of struggling with trying to figure out exactly how to get it to work and how this is all going to flow and how to market it." And I showed him what he had, and he said, "Dude, you've got a good start, but we got a lot of work to do." And he tore up a bunch of papers, and we started writing new notes, and we spent an entire afternoon in New York basically tearing apart Location Rebel and then rebuilding it to basically what it is today. So because of Nick, I've built a six-figure business. When I'm really looking for feedback on how to grow and what to do next, I go to him. He's one of those people that you may not have heard of, but all of the people you follow, all of the biggest marketers, all the people in this space, all seem to be best friends with the guy. So I'm going to stop saying good things and giving him even a bigger ego. But Nick, thank you for being here and hanging out
Dude,
with us
thanks for
today.
having me. I have great friends. That's what I can say, and I'm lucky to call you one of them.
Absolutely. So give people a little bit of background on who you are, what you do, and how we brought you here today.
So in the past few years, well, I started my business in 2007, but in the past few years, I've really become people know me as the affiliate marketing guy. But before that, I built a consulting business out of a bunk bed in college. I scaled an email marketing business to $100,000 a year fairly quickly in 4 years. It was just I started. I didn't know what I was doing, and a lot of stumbling back and forth, and I was able to scale my business into something that I was super proud of. And then I got into affiliate marketing, and that it kind of took off from there, and I ended up selling my email marketing business. But yeah, I mean, I guess today most people know me as the affiliate guy, but I'm here and I'm really interested in helping people scale their freelancing businesses in a way that lets them live a life that they want to live. You see, most people that write to me say that I want to make money online, and I find that, like, who doesn't? And that's awesome. But I think clarity of why you want to do it, and then honestly some simple tools because all it's going to take hard work, but some simple well thought through tools that can help you streamline your business so you have more free time. That's a gold mine, and that's the stuff I wish I had. So I'm here to share, like, the hard earned lessons that I learned in those first 4 years of scaling out my first business.
No, absolutely. So I want to jump right into this because I don't know about you or people that are listening to this, but I do have kind of a short attention span. So I want to make sure this is as punchy for people as possible and make sure that, they're really getting some key kind of takeaways. So one of the frameworks that we talk a lot about on Location 180 and within Location Rebel is this kind of three-step process for building a business online. This is kind of how I've taught people how to go about building a business, because it may not be the sexiest or the most lucrative way, but it's the one that's guaranteed to get results in my mind. So step number one, build relevant skills. Step number two, freelance one of those skills to build up your base of income and your confidence. And then step number three is take everything you've learned and apply it to your own projects that might be a little bit more exciting than freelance writing or something like that. So that being said, I talk a lot about the most important skills necessary. Things like SEO, WordPress, social media, various things like that. But in your opinion, what is the absolute number one skill that people should learn when they're getting started online?
I think the number one skill everyone should be studying is copywriting, because copywriting comes through anything. and everywhere. It comes through in your email, it comes through in your web copy, it comes through in your sales letters. If you know how to sell something via text, you're going to know how to sell something in person. Copywriting is the backbone skill I think that most people overlook. I mean, nowadays, if you don't know how to use WordPress, you're behind the curve. And I think in 5 years, if you don't know how to write good copy, you're going to be behind the curve. And I think regardless of how you plan on growing your freelancing business, it's going to support you.
Absolutely. And it's amazing to me. It's one of those things you would think copywriting is kind of one of those no-brainer things. Everybody should understand how to be persuasive with words. But, I get a couple hundred emails a day, and a lot of those are people that are asking things of me or, trying to build a relationship with me. And they're awful. I mean, they've given me no good reason for why I should pay attention to them. And, I try and respond to every single thoughtful email I get. But a lot of times people just don't know how to present themselves very well. And often I'll tell them, be like, hey, really nice to meet you. Your email sucked. Rewrite it and come back to me. So I think that it's really cool that you mentioned it because, I've even written about this in the past. So I think that's the most important skill you can learn. So keep that in mind. But, what we're going to really talk about today is step number 2. We're going to talk about how to build that freelancing part of your business, how to bring in clients, how to, really grow that up to the point where you've got a sustainable income and you can use that as kind of one of the backbones of your business. So with that, what's kind of the first, we talked about a couple concepts that we're going to introduce today, but what's the first thing that you want to bring up to really help people grow their freelance business?
You see, I think most people target the wrong customers. Starting out as a freelancer, I remember in my business, I was like, you know what, I want to get as many customers as possible, so I'm going to keep my price as low as possible. And I think that was a key mistake that, looking back, I would do so differently, and I would encourage every freelancer out there to do differently. What I found is I was attracting lots of customers that were very demanding, but I had a few customers that weren't that demanding. So I started looking what those customers had in common. What I found out is that there are some customers that are focused solely on price, and there's some customers that are focused solely on results. And so I really focused my business on targeting just results-focused customers. And I raised my price 300% overnight. So my prices went just through the roof, and I was able to trim down the problem customers and just attract the customers that I was interested in. My original email marketing business targeted specifically realtors. And what I found is that the average realtors, the realtors that sold like $300,000 homes, were my problem customers. They were more focused on how they could get results, but do it themselves. And instead, what I found was my really good customers were the ones that sold $2.2 million homes on average. And those customers were like, I want results. And like, I had the honor of marketing Donald Trump's house via email. And it was like, they're not interested in how much it costs. They're interested in the results. And you want more clients that are interested in the results you bring. On my website, I have like a full breakdown of that and client archetypes. But really keep in mind what are you bringing to your customers? Do you want people that are going to be cost focused, that are going to nickel and dime you and say, hey, can't you lower your rates or match my prices? No, you want people that are going to be like, let you go all out and do the best results possible, because those are the fun clients. So tailor your marketing to that, right?
So how do you do that? It's like, I've got one client. I'm just getting started. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. So I'm trying to bring in anyone I can. So the idea of raising my rates 300% seems totally counterintuitive. So how do I make sure I'm targeting the results oriented clients? And once I do bring a client on board, how do I know that they're the right type of person?
So great question. So like the biggest thing that I would say is use your Hire Me page as a filter. Your Hire Me page is the one point where I see most freelancers are failing. If you say, hey, contact me and we'll figure out how I can help you, well, anyone's going to contact you. If instead you say, hey, if you fit this specific criteria, please contact me and we'll find out how we can work together, or maybe we can work together. You want the client to pre-qualify themselves in a way that shows that they're not only going to be a fit for you, but you're also going to be a fit for them.
Okay. Is there, once they, you say, do you fit this criteria? Email me. Once you kind of open up that conversation, do you have another way to kind of further qualify people? Does it go any more in depth than that?
Yeah, so one of my favorite ways, I have a video coming out in a couple of weeks on it, but basically I'll drop it here first. And so essentially what it is there's one question that you should have on your Hire Me page. And it's the idea of, it goes right back to cost focused versus results focused. So please categorize these 5 categories in order of what's most important to you. And just like that's on your page, you can use Gravity Forms to do it. And the 5 categories are price, results, service, and choose two others. But basically, what you find is if people list price first, then these people are not going to be your ideal customers. And I always give them a second field to allow them to justify why they ranked it in that order. Because really, once you get them on the phone after that, you can be like, hey, so I saw that results were your number one priority. That's what I specialize in. That's great. But if they put price first, you say, hey, I saw you were focused on price. I'm more interested in getting results, and I get excellent results, like this example and this example. If you're really focused on price, we can work something out, but depending on what your price point is, we may not be able to work together. And then from there, you frame the whole conversation in a different way.
Got it. Okay. So that's starting to make a lot of sense to me, and that's really cool because I think a lot of people wouldn't have ever thought to do that. It's like, hey, whoa, here's the contact page. Like, send this to everyone, like and let's try and get me some work. So once you've kind of established who you want to work with, kind of what your price point is, how do you go about closing some of these clients? So, it's like you start to have that conversation. Is there any tricks you've learned, or is there any way you can think of that, you can really kind of seal the deal, especially now that you've got a higher price point?
So it really comes down to linking what you do to the value that they're looking to derive in their business. Something that I spent a lot of time on in my first business is I had this moment where I did email marketing, and what I realized at the time was clients wanted one thing, and I thought they wanted something else. So after about 7 months of running my business, I decided to email each client and find out what value were they getting from my business. And once I understood my client archetype and what value they were getting from my business, I was able to talk about that value with future customers. And so it was really easy to close clients, in my example, to say, hey, every time I email out for your property, you're going to get on average of 1 to 2 leads for your real estate property that you're representing. Out of X amount of leads, so many are going to convert. And so the cost of my service is between $60 and $80. Each one of those leads is worth way more than that to you. So it's a no-brainer for you to move forward with this business. But if I hadn't done that exploration with current clients, I wouldn't have known what value I was really bringing to each business. And so I think it's important to get clear on what that value is.
No, absolutely. And so this is all kind of starting to make sense. But one thing I know a lot of people struggle with, it's like, okay, so now you've got a framework for bringing people on board and getting really high quality customers and clients. But once you've got X amount of clients, that's not necessarily the most scalable thing. What are your thoughts on scalability, and how do you grow that?
So scalability is interesting. And in my experience, and this is just my experience, I had 600 real estate agents that my company serviced, and it was just me. And what I found is when I hit 60, I had to completely rethink how I did it. And in order to get to 600, the biggest point is lowering the amount of points of contact that you have. First and foremost, if you're dealing with a big company, often you're going to have multiple people that have to approve. And something I suggest people do is when they're negotiating, if someone's negotiating on price, negotiate on the other intangibles. So one of the big things I would encourage you to do is if someone's like, hey, can you drop your rates, whatever it is, some percentage, say yes, as long as I can get like 1 point person inside your company, he's going to be the only person I talk to, and he's going to be my point man. Like I found that I lowered my rates for big companies all the time as long as I only had one person that I was talking to, because the amount of contacts that you have to maintain relationships with and keep updated on project status can just drain your time. So really, if anything, like one of the big things I would suggest every freelancer do is in your contract, have them specify who your main point of contact is going to be, especially if you're a web developer or a designer, and also have some sort of terms in there that say what happens if that contact isn't replying. Even if it's not a legal document, just have something that's like setting expectations. Because I find with most client work, it's all setting expectations and managing expectations.
I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I found with the client work I've done is it's kind of the whole like under promise over deliver. So it's like make sure that like you know exactly what you're trying to do, but have in your own heads like you really want to do all of this stuff, and when you deliver that, then they're blown away, and that kind of leads into the better testimonials. That's when you go back and say, hey, what value am I providing? You know, they give you the answers you were really trying to get to begin with, so you can market your business in the way that you really want to, which is cool.
Definitely. And it's like I kind of like to think of myself as like an emergency room doctor when someone comes to me when I was doing consulting, and they would come to me and be like, oh no, my elbow hurts, but like that could be any cause, like my business isn't growing or whatever it is. You have to do some investigating and find out what if the problem that they're presenting with is really the real problem, Or is there like a bigger underlying problem that they're not addressing? Like people might, let's say you're a social media consultant, people might come to you and be like, I don't have enough Facebook followers. Well, are Facebook followers really the metric you should be tracking? Or are you interested in something else? And I think good freelancers and consultants understand that like getting to the root of the problem is, I would say, like at least half of your value. And, correctly addressing and adding value to like getting clarity around the problem is key.
I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned as I've, done more consulting work and things like that is that you should be asking way more questions than you probably think you should be. I mean, now it's like I'll spend a whole hour and it's nothing but asking questions to get to like the root of the problem. When before someone would say like, well, here's my problem. And I'd be quick to be like, oh yeah, well, you should do this and this and this when you really have no idea what their actual goals are, why they need the Facebook followers or whatever, and to use your example, and you're not really giving them that much value because you never took the time to figure out what they really needed in the first place.
So, totally. There's a fantastic book called The Challenger Sale where they interviewed, I think it was like 6,000 salespeople who do sales for a living, and they tracked their performance. And what they found was people who challenged the current companies, like the company they're selling to's assumptions, were highly valued. And people who like changed the way that the company that they were consulting with, which essentially sales is moving into more of like being a consultant for free and convincing them that your solution is right. And so if you're challenging some of their current assumptions, so like let's say Facebook likes are my metric that I'm tracking. If you challenge that assumption that Facebook likes are what you should be tracking, and say no, really, like link this to the bottom line. How are Facebook likes going to make you money? If you're showing no, you should really be focusing on this other metric. It's so much more credible, and it's something that I think a lot of consultants are afraid to do, and really the expertise that you're bringing to the table, it's more than the finished product. It's the shift. Like the great consultants that I've worked with are the people that shift my thinking, and I challenge everyone that's watching this video. If you have a freelancing business, every sales call you have, you really want the person to leave saying, I never thought about my business that way.
Absolutely. Okay, so I want to kind of wrap this all up. If people are responding well and they want more, then I'm going to make sure we find a way to get you back on here. But I want to make sure that we're respecting people's time and kind of sticking to the point. In terms of growing your freelancing business, finding more clients, customers, is there anything that you've been thinking of that you wanted to share that we haven't had an opportunity to talk about?
So the biggest thing that I haven't had a chance to share is something I call the referral engine, and this is essentially how I increase my referrals from current customers like 300%. Basically, what I did is I created a simple survey, and in an email, I'll give everyone that's interested in it. I basically show them how they can exactly use a simple questionnaire to email current clients and say, are you satisfied with my services? And if you are, just simply fill out this survey, and great. And at the bottom, there's a little non-consequential checkbox, and I go into all the details about it. But basically, it's a seamless system you can use to just absolutely blow up your referrals, because what you'll find is some clients are logically satisfied and some are emotionally satisfied. And when people take time to really fill out a survey and see how satisfied they are, they often realize they're more satisfied than they originally believed. And if you get them to commit to sharing with friends, it's fantastic. I don't want to give too much away. I already have, but include a link to it or in the post, and I'll make sure I get them a copy of that.
Okay, that sounds awesome. So first off, or just to kind of end it, if you were going to send people to one place where they can get the most value out of the stuff you do and they can really just be blown away even further by all the stuff you've got going on, what would that one spot be?
Go to nicholasreese.com/Sean-Ogle.
Oh, I don't even know what that's going to be. You haven't told me about this yet, so now I'm kind of excited about it. But anyway, I want to thank you so much for taking some time to share your expertise, not only with my audience but with me. I've already gotten some things that I can improve with my business on this, and I'm really excited to jump into it and see how we can do it. And so, thank you again for the bonus and whatever you're going to be sharing with our listeners. And I can't wait to hopefully drag you back on here sometime in the future.
Awesome, sounds great, man. Such a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Talk soon.